Hi class, my name is Megan Custer, and today I'm going to be presenting my final project, which is the Serving Learning final project. Okay, so first I'm going to be talking about the individual / community with the disability. So I'm going to be referencing my next door neighbor from El Paso, Texas, Mike O. Mike O is a U.S. Army veteran who's disabled with his experience in the military. Mike now organizes different events across the El Paso area, and he goes to different tracks, schools, fields, open areas that people can ride hand cycles. So people who ride hand cycles will have a disability, usually with their legs, like where they can't ride a normal bicycle and they have to use a hand cycle. So as you can see in these images over here, the individuals, instead of the pedals being on the floor, they're with your hands. So you just go like this to use the hand cycles. So Mike stores a lot of these hand cycles in a storage facility, and he will bring them out for his friends in a very casual way for his friends, for them to ride like in a community, a group, so they can all ride together. So this is like a private, really casual, self-made event that Mike occasionally does for, different holidays. And it gives these veterans with disabilities an opportunity to like be in a peer supported environment with people who have similar experiences as them. I'll move my little thing here out of the way. So, what is the family or community service that I am going to be doing? So the service, my original plan was to volunteer at one of these events, but after speaking with Mike over the past several weeks, he was never sure about when the next event would be held. After speaking with him this past week, he told me that there's not going to be another event until Memorial Day weekend in late May. So unfortunately, I was not able to actually participate in it, but speaking with Mike, I gained a lot of insight and a lot of information about this event. So I mentioned his involvement and inspiration for a lot of my assignments in these different classes. And he was so excited to hear that. I had been in communication with Mike for the past couple months for both this class and another class. And he expressed that in this conversation that though he's like sad he didn't get to have an event for this due date, that just me learning about his disability, his friends' disabilities, and just like the whole veteran community is very powerful, because by teaching other people, it's just as much of a service as volunteering at the event would do. Mike really inspired me when he said this one line. He said, "Words and education is of equal power to action." So by me volunteering at the event and unloading the hand cycles and maybe helping some people get into the hand cycles themselves, is of equal power as my voice, like my voice in teaching you guys, teaching my roommate, teaching my friends, my family about disabilities and disabilities with veterans and stuff like that is also very powerful. So this made me feel a little bit better about missing the event, even though it wasn't held yet. It's held in the end of May. It made me feel better about it because I feel like just by learning from him and hearing what he has to say about him and his friends helps me to empower them almost, give them a voice give them like a platform to speak where they normally would have not spoken. So you guys would have never known about Mike O if I'm not talking about it right now. Mike O and his veteran friends. So though I'm not participating in the event, or I haven't participated in the event this semester, I'm still committing myself to do it on Memorial Day weekend in a couple weeks. And I'm going to be helping out with this event. And my brother has helped out with the events before COVID, and he would just unload the hand cycles. And for those veterans who are unable to transfer themselves independently, he would help transfer them into the hand cycle. So he would never just walk up to a person and grab them and throw them in the hand cycle by any means. But for those like who are maybe elderly or lacking upper body strength or are newly disabled and don't know how to, Mike O and my brother would help them when they ask to get into the hand cycles. So the service that I've actually provided them is all through word of mouth and using my voice. I've educated myself on Mike O, his events, his family, his friends, and I'm speaking about it because I think that's like one of the greatest powers that we can have besides our actions is our voice. So educating other people. I've also contacted my cousins and friends in the area, and I have several of my cousins, three of my cousins, and my brother who are also going to come with me to help out because what's better than one body is four or five, actually. So, who will benefit from this? When I participate in the event, I think Mike O and the few veterans, that I might help transfer will benefit from my help. But other than that, I feel like I'm just one girl, and me unloading and loading the hand cycles and stuff like that is not going to create a huge benefit for the community. I feel like if I were to talk to people there and maybe educate them or connect, maybe if there's a family member who is feeling down and lonely about their financial situation because of their disability, and there's another family like that, maybe I could connect them like that. So I think my voice is something that could be a huge benefit to this community. I think my ideas too have a lot of benefit because I feel like the brain is just as powerful as the mouth. And I had some ideas from another class that I mentioned to Mike, and I'll show you them in a second. And they're really cool. And he's really excited about it because he thinks that this could be something that stemming from one idea in my brain from an assignment that has the potential to actually impact him and his friend group and maybe even more people. So teaching others to be an advocate for those with disabilities is super important because education is everything, as you guys know, and actually going out and directly voting for policies that benefit individuals with disabilities could be also one of my biggest strengths. And yeah, so in terms of like voting, educating others, roommates, families, peers, whatever, that could be a huge benefit for the community if you're not actually going out there and participating in an event like I sadly could not. So this is one of my ideas that I had, and I actually created this from another assignment. So shout out to Professor Foster for helping harvest these ideas in my brain because they're going to great use. I've showed these to Mike and he is so excited about them. So this is an idea from another class that I had. It's a transfer attachment that could be attached to the wheelchair to the hand cycle. So I had mentioned this to Mike in the past couple months when I was, speaking with him and stuff. And this was just a rough sketch in the beginning. It was did not have all the details like it does now. And so Mike was familiar with the idea, but he hadn't seen the final ideas yet until this past week. And he was so excited about it. And yeah, I created this transfer attachment to be adjustable because not all, as you saw in the first pictures, not all hand cycles are the same. Some can be taller or shorter or skinnier or thicker, and just the same as wheelchairs. So it can be adjustable, and the little table right here will slide, or the person can like hop on here and then slide over to the hand cycle and then drop themselves down like that. And yeah, this could be for someone who is lacking upper body strength, someone who is newly disabled and doesn't know how to navigate it, or someone who's elderly and not able to do it by themselves. Yeah, it could be a great device for many people, and Mike was really excited about it. He actually was so excited when I was talking to him, and he was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we can use this tool and this tool and this tool from my garage and from the warehouse to maybe make a prototype of this." So I think we're gonna get started on that when we go home for summer, because actually I never physically made this invention, I guess you could call it. It was just an idea, but he's like planning to work with me to make this idea a reality for hopefully before the Memorial Day event. So this is another one of the ideas that I presented to him. Again, he was familiar with it, but he hadn't seen the final product. But this is basically a portable handrail with clips, and it can clip on to the wheelchair or the hand cycle or wherever, and it's just like extra support. Maybe for someone who already has some upper body strength, but they still need a little bit of assistance, this would be a great tool for them. Mike asked for a copy of this card so he can send to his friend who's a welder. So maybe they can like make a prototype of this one too, because he liked this idea too. His favorite though was the last one. And though I was unable to actively participate in the events, Mike O understands my intentions, and he was like a big fan of how I'm willing to like educate you guys and my friends and roommates and family about this. And he's so excited for what the future could hold. So these are the course concept applications. So I apply the disability across the lifespan with families with disabilities, because just as much as a disability could impact one person, it also impacts their family and loved ones. So in speaking with Mike O, I asked him about how disabilities have affected him and his friends' lifestyles and the lifestyles of just, the veteran community in general. And he described the process of being disabled as challenging at first, because he was never disabled since childhood. He was disabled because of the military. And even for families, it's especially hard, he says, even though that like maybe the wife or the spouse or the children might not be directly affected, the services, needs, rehab, financial aspect, and other accommodations that the individual might need also affects the family. Mike O emphasized on the financial aspects of disabilities because those can be especially difficult. He says that with the family potentially surviving paycheck to paycheck, that it can be difficult for them to stay afloat if a new disability is presented. So disabilities can be potentially accommodated for by the government, but maybe not all services, not all therapies, not all assistive devices would be covered by insurance. So those extra spends, I guess you could say, those extra, I can't think of the word, the way you spend money on the services adds a little bit of an extra burden on the family who might be already struggling to begin with. And Mike especially also described the transition for parents with a disability. So those are the images that I have pictured there as parents with disabilities. He said it's awesome to see them raise their kids, but it's also very humbling because their struggles are not equal to the struggles of another family. He says that many times their financial status might not be where it's supposed to be, because a lot of the times for an average family in society, their extra money would be used like for leisure or vacations or going out for a nice dinner, but that leisure money just doesn't exist for many families with disabilities, because that money needs to go towards services, assistive devices, and stuff like that. So though insurances and stuff, like I mentioned earlier, and government assistance can sometimes cover some of the things, not everything is often covered. So my curiosities. I was really curious about a caregiving situation for the veterans with disabilities, like if they have a professional caregiver, maybe an at-home nurse, or like someone that they pay to just come over to the house. And Mike O explained that most of his veteran friends have their families to help care for them, maybe a spouse or their children or aunts or uncles or parents to help care for them. But Mike explained for the few individuals who don't have their family to support them, they mostly rely on their own independence, which is extremely hard, their friends within the community, and professional caregiving. So for example, his younger friends who are newly disabled from the field are able to be independent because like they're a little bit more physically strong. Maybe they have their finances are more stable because they're still working. But his friends who are retired or with no family often have to employ professional caregivers, which are sometimes covered and sometimes not covered by insurances and the government. And that's going to be all for my presentation today. I'll leave this up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a happy finals week, and I hope you guys learned something and are able to use your voices as well to speak about disabilities, speak about, the problems with disabilities, not the problems exactly, but you know what I mean, like the problems with the whole world about it and financial assistance and how difficult it can be to apply for some of these grants and stuff like that. Speak about that to your family and friends, and then that will be exponential, essentially, because if you speak about it and maybe someone's voting for a policy, or someone is seeing some discrimination in their workplace and stuff like that. Like, we have to be the people that are advocates and allies for people with disabilities. So I hope you guys learned something, and I hope you guys use your voices as much as I'm trying to. I'm really happy I picked this major, this class, Professor Foster. You guys have been awesome. Thank you guys so much. Bye.